Okay, response for today's question. So let's say the clients are taking a decision based on incorrect data or a bad data. As a Scrum Master, how to fix it, how to correct it. To start with, we need to understand that the data is a new oil. So the industries, the economies, our systems, organizations, businesses, everything probably is running on data more than ever. So there can be two approaches to it. One is a proactive approach wherein you know that something might be taken in a different way, so you need to be upfront about it. The other is reactive, wherein something has already been shared with the customer and now they are about to take an incorrect decision. Let's go with the reactive first, which is after the fact that it has already happened. Now, as a Scrum Master, I get to know um, the issue is here. So let's say the customers are expecting after a few sprints a certain specific feature that would be available to them in terms of the sprint review or in the production. Maybe it's related to a specific festival, upcoming festival, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Diwali, or a certain offer that they are going to post in the public, and which is an incorrect decision, because you as a Scrum Master, you know that based on the metrics, the burn up chart, because you are doing the release planning for further down the sprints, you know the velocity of the team, you know the upcoming planned vacations of the team. So multiple other decisions, the factors that can impact this thing, you are aware that this thing can impact that particular outcome. Now, what to do in that case? You simply talk to both the sides. You talk to the customer that so and so is the assumption, and let us check back with the team, the PO and the Scrum developers, and see what can be done. We go back to the team, we talk to the PO and the Scrum team together and see if there is any room for flexibility in terms of reprioritizing our stories, uh, so that the work that the customer is expecting can actually be done in that time. If there are a lot of vacations around Diwali time and the customer is also planning to release a certain feature or an offer around that time, but it won't be available, you need to talk to the team if there is any room to reduce the vacations, or maybe work during weekends, or maybe just work extra hours just to get that out and not to impact the other activities. Based on the collective decision, as the Scrum Guide says, we talk and we make the decisions and then we inform the client. If nothing can be done, we see what's best that can be done. Another possibility is, let's say we are developing a portal which shows certain graphs, certain statistics, certain numbers, or something on the portal which the customer has seen already in the sprint reviews, or is already seeing throughout the sprint on their end, and they're going to take a decision on their side. Now, it might happen that the data that we had presented during sprint review was mocked up data, some data that we had cooked up just to show a happy path flow or something, a positive scenario, or maybe that data was created just to um, just to have a demo of an feature that we had recently deployed. So the customers should not take that as a final thing and then take a decision based on it. If I get to know about that, I again talk to the customer that this is not what it was intended for, and then I again go back and talk to the team if we can actually replicate the data the way they are expecting us, maybe take something from the production and again run through the whole scenario on priority and the decision that they are able to take. It's an informed and a better known decision than based on the faulty data. So that's one thing. Coming to the proactive side, so proactive is much easier to control, because let's say if the certain feature that they are assuming will be available in future, we can arrange a meet up with the PO and the customer, and then tell them, okay, this is the sequencing of the stories or the features that are about to come. Do they want it to be resequenced? If yes, PO is there, we resequence, we finalize an arrangement. Okay, we are going to deprioritize, let's say, feature C and bring up a feature D, so that they get it in time that they are actually expecting. If it's based on certain data, we just state the assumptions during our sprint review that this particular dashboard, it's not showing based on the real data, it's just to show you how it would look once it goes into production, for the happy path or for the positive flow of this particular portal. Plus, we also send the same on the moms, so that in case someone was distracted during the sprint review, we would ensure that the things are also conveyed on the mail and they are not just miscommunicated because someone missed out on sprint review, or because they were not active, or they were interrupted during their experience. So that's one thing that can be done. As in final say, just to conclude, uh, in either of these scenarios, proactive or reactive, as a scrum master, you need to be supportive of the team, and you need to ensure that if the things are if the decision has already been taken, or if it's about to be taken in a reactive scenario, or if it might be taken in a proactive scenario, team is the one who's going to bring you through it. So you need to be supportive of whatever the scenario might be. At the same time, once you understand that it has happened or it might happen, you go to the root cause and you fix it. Last thing, you go to the retrospective, bring it to the team, and talk it out to ensure that this particular thing, if it has already happened, it doesn't repeat. If it might happen, how do we correct it, and how do we put a practice or a process in place so that it doesn't even happen at all in the future? So that's the answer.
Hello friends. So for this week question, your clients or stakeholders made some decision based on inaccurate data or assumptions. Okay, how will you let them know that this is inaccurate data? Of course, Scrum and Agile and everywhere we are referring some our past experience, and we are taking that into picture and we are working it. First, I will let I will try to understand what makes them to bring this data calculation and made this decision. Okay, so there could be some possible reason why they made this. So first I will try to understand that. If suppose, if I feel that this data decision is not this decision what made because of this data may not be the appropriate way or something else, so that time I will discuss with my team members and stakeholders stating that of course I agree with you guys. Data is an important tool to help arrive at some certain decisions, but the data itself shouldn't be a decision maker, no matter how powerful and rich this data set. Like that, I will start my explanation. It's not like I'm directly denying them. First, I will agree with them. Data is an important tool. Okay, and companies cannot abdicate their decision making responsibilities and outsource them to data. Okay, we can take data based on the predictions or something, take decisions based on the data predictions or something, but it's not completely we have to rely with the data. Okay, so when we will go with this kind of data based decision, one thing maybe mainly like with the revenue, with profit or expense, if you are not ready to lose our profit or our investment what we made for this business, then we will go with data or some past references or some other companies what they are following their data. Like that we will refer and we will start uh, similarly empathize that, I'm sorry, emphasis that, and we will start to work on that one. So we can have this as a supporting document instead of having that as a main decision maker. Okay, so that way we can work. That is one point. And I collected few data to prove this data driven decision may led to some other bad results. So I corrected this data driven decision, which may be wrong and may not be wrong as well. Okay, so first point I would like to empathize is that I took this data from Forbes May 2020 edition. Okay, since we are referring the past finished data, so Christopher Columbus and the discovery of America, even he made the data. Uh, he assumed something in a wrong way and made the decision. So because of that, it his calculations went wrong. Okay, even the discovery of the America was a result of bad data. When Christopher Columbus made a calculation between Europe and Asia, so that time first he was favored with the Persian geographer Alfragus, and then over the more accurate calculation, and then he started to favor with the Greek geographer. Okay, so based on this comparison, he is not sure which data is appropriate or where we are going, and what is the expected result. Nothing was not sure for him. So second, Columbus assumed Alfragus, that means that Persian geographer was referring to Roman miles in his calculation. Okay, since he is a Persian, he might have referred some Roman miles, but he referred it in Arabic miles. So for more accurate information, he favored with the Persian geographer over the Greek geographer. Okay, he could have believed anyone, or he could have calculated the data, or he could have cross-check with that particular person in where your miles, in what units your miles are measured. That kind of conversation might have provided some fruitful result to Columbus. Okay, so but he didn't did that, just took the data and just started his journey or something like that. It went on wrong. So Columbus himself is to blame for the bad data. So Columbus could have stuck with one geographer's calculation for this to take some decision, or he could have analyzed this thing and verified the units of measurement he was using was actually correct or not. But he did it. So data driven decision is wrong. So I will emphasize this one to my stakeholders and client. This is how in history they failed. Even in one election in US, Hillary Clinton data that went wrong. And another one example. So many examples are there in the market, right? But I would like to take just two examples. Another one example is that Coca-Cola's New Coke branding. Okay, so your new formula was created in the 1980s to have for this new Coca-Cola. Okay, it was blind tested with so many people, to lakhs of volunteers for this one. Every time the volunteers choose a new Coca-Cola over the old Coke and Pepsi, the executives at Coca-Cola focused on the single point of date, ignoring all other things. Just they are checking whether what they are picking, whether it's a new Coke or old Coke or Pepsi. That is what they check, nothing more than that. So phased out the old Coke with the new. Okay, ignoring all others, ignored every data, just faced what Coke they are picking, either it's old or new for some time. There was a backlash, as we all assumed. They had not considered taste is not at all the motivates a consumer, and to buy something. The classic Coke, that means the old Coke, had nostalgia associated with it. That means that some evocative feeling associated with the old Coke compared to the new Coke. So at first when they launched this new Coke, maybe customers might have started to pick that one, and they thought that executives at a particular persons, managers might thought that okay, they are picking new Coke, so we are good to launch, and we can launch it, and we can make some drastic changes. However, this nostalgic feel, evocative feel, what the customers had with that old Coke didn't keep the market for the new Coke. So immediately it was a backlash, and they reverted all the products back to them. So this kind of data driven approach may goes wrong sometime. So based on this example, I will try to explain them. We could have reconsidered your decision if it makes some sense to you. If client is very adamant, and it's not like very adamant, if it's their understanding. If the client is very much convicted or determined to their decision, then why not let them go try and explore. After all, Agile is inspect and adapt. Who knows, sometimes this data driven decisions also provide some fruitful results. So for this sprint, let them go and let them implement things, and we will try as a team. Again, it's not like okay, you took the decision, you want to make it and you want to suffer. No, it's not like, as a team we all agree, and we will go ahead and we will try to inspect and adapt if suppose something is wrong, and if it is good then we can continue with their own decisions itself. So this is how I would like to deal with my clients. Thank you.
Hi all, good evening. This week's question is, if you know as a Scrum Master your client is making some decision based on inaccurate data or wrong assumption, how you tackle with such situation and what is the approach? So we know that whether it is when it is an incorrect input, obviously it is a known fact that output also will be wrong. For example, when you give orange as an input, when after processing we can't expect apple juice. Same way, uh, when we are giving any data wrong, then we can't expect the outcome in a proper way. When I say data input, it is not always data. It can also be our planning, it can be estimation, it can be our decision making or strategy planning, and also our impact or risk assessment. So all these are interlinked. When any one thing goes wrong, definitely we will be noticing failure in our result. For example, if I say during our sprint planning, if we are not having our capacity planned properly, or if any user stories are not estimated in the right way, then we see that variations in the scope. For example, there can be addition or removal of the user stories, which might affect they might be overcommitting, or they will be underestimating, and we will not be able to deliver the user stories on time. So these can be the scenarios, and also it hampers our decision making, or it will impact our strategic planning, so that we will be missing our milestones, or it will cause delay in our deliverables. So for example, if I say, if someone comes to me and says that as a scrum master you're not doing this is not the right thing, and you could have done it in a different way, so I will not as a human being, when someone says or points out at our mistakes, we will not blindly accept it. We will also look forward for some data. Similarly, when we know that client is making some decisions on inaccurate data, we have to show proper evidence, or we have to provide the valid data which can be realistic, and also it have proper proofs, and so that they are convinced with our justifications and they can make the right decision. One example what I would like to share is, so during our release planning, there was like some features which was not included in the checklist, and it was deployed to the user machine and without the thorough testing. So there was a P1 incident raised, and also it was impacted team's effectiveness also, and it was kind of a rework and double work for the team, and it was kind of time consuming, because they had to debug and also check what is the root cause for that issue. And this was the scenarios where because of the inaccurate or I can say because of missing some data in the checklist, which has resulted in these scenarios. So since then what we planned is, we have to include all the relevant data in our planning.
Hello everyone. So today's question is, if you know as a scrum master that your client is making some decision based on inaccurate data or assumption, so how you are going to correct him, or how you are going to handle such situation? So to answer today's question, first of all, as a scrum master, it's your responsibility, or I can say scrum master is accountable for this scrum team's effectiveness. So if scrum master knows that the client is making some wrong decision, or he is making some decision based on inaccurate data or assumption, so it's his or her responsibility to explain the fact to the client and correct him, as those decisions would impact the team's effectiveness. So let's see what can be the assumption made by the, what kind of assumption the client can make, or what can be the inaccurate data. So first of all, we have to we have to check like what is the situation, what kind of assumption the client is making. So like suppose in this situation I can say this client is making some assumption like like this requirement is completed by the team, or they are making some assumptions related to like estimation that it will the team has provided the estimations, but still the client is thinking they have provided the wrong estimation, and their assumption is they should take less time to complete this task. So in such kinds of such kind of assumptions, it's as a scrum master, it's my responsibility to explain to the client like what is the current state of the scrum team and where we are. And as developers are the one who are doing the development, and they have provided the estimations based on their efforts required and considering all the factors that are required for the estimations. So so I will explain each and every fact of the situation to the client, and politely explain them about the assumptions what they are of the situation to the client, and politely explain them about the assumptions what they are making, and what kind of risk that can be if they make their decisions based on this kind of assumptions. And suppose if the client is not agreeing my point, then I will request product owner to explain the client in their business terms, because if they are making some decisions based on inaccurate data or assumption, there can be a higher risk of the project can be at higher risk. And so I will explain each and every factors to the client, and also request product owner to explain the client about all these
One
scenarios.
example what I would
And
like
the
to
other
share
thing
is,
like
so
inaccurate
during
data. So
our maze
inaccurate data
planning,
can be like it might
there
be
was
possible like
some features which was not included
we
in the
have
checklist, and it was
we have
deployed to the
we
user
have
machine
selected the
and
sprint
without
backlog
the
based
thorough
on our
testing. So there
velocity,
was a
and
P1 incident raised, and
based on our
also
velocity and the
it was
capacity of the team. But
impacted
still, like
team's
the
effectiveness also,
product
and it was
sorry,
kind of a
the
rework
client
and double
thinks
work for the team. It
like
was
this
kind
is
of
an inaccurate
time
data, and they are
consuming because they
making some
have to
assumption on the data.
debug
So
and
and they
also
are
check what is
pulling
the
us
root
to
cause
take
for that
more
issue. And
more work, because they
this
don't
was the
know what
scenarios where
like we
it
have
was
Diwali
like a
vacations or some
inaccurate,
holiday in our
or
bucket.
I
They
can
don't
say
have any
it was
idea, but they still think like
missing some
this
data
is the
in the
wrong
checklist, which
and they
has
have very
resulted in
they have
these
taken very less amount
scenarios.
of work into their
So since
bucket.
then,
So
what
if
we planned
suppose
is,
such kind of
we have to
inaccurate data
include
or
all
something
the
happens,
relevant data
so I will
in our
explain
planning.
each
And
and everything to the client about our velocity chart. I will show the velocity of our team to the client, and explain them about our capacity as well, and correct them on this kind of points. Thank you.
Hello everyone, today's topic is if your client making an assumption based on some inaccurate data, then as a Scrum Master, how are you going to handle this kind of situation? Uh, First of all, what kind of assumption client can make, and as a Scrum Master, how you're going to tackle those situations. First assumption could be the possible scenario could be where client has given some requirement, because client can give thousands of requirements, but it is not possible for team to deliver such a big requirement within particular timelines. Suppose after 4 to 5 sprint there might be a major releases. Based on the time frame, team will be able to deliver this much amount of work to the client or to the customer. So it is PO's responsibility to have a clear communication with the client and also with the team that this much scope has been identified and team can able to achieve, because first of all, team won't be might be team don't have that much of bandwidth to complete all the requirements that client have given. Some part might team able to complete by this release, and some their expectation is not fulfilled. Whatever they are giving, team is not doing, they are not providing the right solution. So it is Scrum Master duty to talk to the product owner and to find out if they are making some commitment, or team is making some commitment that this much scope they can able to provide, whether that particular thing has been communicated properly to the customer or not. Also, they should have a mail communication with the customer, or they can have a schedule a meeting with the customer to provide such information. So if PO is not aware of it, Scrum Master duty to educate the PO or to guide or coach the PO. Second possible scenario could be there is no proper intake process. In that case, customer might think or might demand during the production. So client can demand during the demo call or before going live that they have given some functionality, but that is not present, or that is team didn't achieve that one. So the process also might need to be fixed first. Suppose some SOW document needs to be in place, or a proper requirement tracker should be there, where whatever scope client are logging or there, so there should be a proper process, whether that has been approved or that has been rejected by the by after discussing with the team, also with the business, whether they have a proper budget approval or not. So all those factors are very much important during the intake process of the requirement. So as a product owner, this also their responsibility to have a proper document in place, so that client cannot just assume something and demand some extraordinary thing out of the or out of box thing from the
has given some requirement,
from the feature of the requirement, whatever they have given.
but it is not possible.
Okay, another the third assumption could be that
requirement,
the feature of the requirement, whatever they have given.
Suppose after
Okay, another the third assumption could be that
based on
during the demo or in our project we have seen before going live, we are providing the customer a proper access to a particular instance in our environment, so that they can test their own data or they can test their own application. So during such cases, during the testing or during the demo, they might be testing some with the test data which is available right now in the system. And also it has been seen that in the integrated application, where some application, source application is migrated to another application, and there might be a chance of data loss. So clients are very particular about those things, and when they are doing the testing of such scenarios in the integrated system, so client can demand find some discrepancy in the data. So if you feel or if it has been that informed to you as a Scrum Master, you definitely need to talk to the customer or business that whatever that is testing they will be doing based on the test data. So the process also, if there is any discrepancy, fixed first, then suppose some SOW document definitely they can or a proper requirement tracker should be there, where whatever scope client are logging or there, so there should be a proper process, whether that has been approved or that has been rejected by the by after discussing with the team, also with the business, whether they have a proper budget approval or not. So all those factors are very much important during the intake process of the requirement. So as a product owner, this also their responsibility to have a proper document in place, so that client cannot just assume something and demand some extraordinary thing out of the or out of box thing from the from the feature or from the requirement whatever they have given. Okay, another the third assumption could be that the feature or for the requirement whatever they have given. Okay, another the third assumption could be that during the demo or in our project we have seen before going live, we are providing the customer a proper access to a particular instance or environment, so that they can test their own data or they can test their own application. So during such cases, during the testing or during the demo, they might be testing some with the test data which is available right now in the system. And also it has been seen that in the integrated application, where some application source application is migrated to another application, and there might be a chance of data loss. So clients are very particular about those things, and when they are doing the testing of such scenarios in the integrated system, they might find some discrepancy in the data. So if you feel, or if it has been informed to you as a Scrum Master, you definitely need to talk to the customer or business that whatever testing they will be doing based on the test data. So if there is any discrepancy, then do not definitely they can